give our attention next to Sister Austin. She's being assisted by Sister Botel. And we're going to take a look here at the theme, Be Morally Clean and Accept Scriptural Responsibility. The inside book information is taken under the Boaz, the first Boaz listed in the inside book. And we're going to look in as she encourages a Bible student to attend meetings. Let's see how she develops that.
Wendy, I'm so happy you've been able to make it to the Sunday meeting. I wanted to encourage you to try coming on Tuesday night as well. I think you'd find it really encouraging and helpful in continuing to make spiritual progress.
Oh yeah? Remind me, what kind of things do they talk about at those meetings?
Well, in a lot of ways, it's a lot like our home Bible studies. We get discussions of the Bible by topic. We get help in explaining our beliefs to others. But I really enjoy the parts that help us to get more out of our own personal Bible reading.
How do you get help with that?
Well, a lot of times we'll have a part that focuses in on just one particular Bible character, someone who we'd normally just, pass over in a quick reading of the Bible, like Boaz, for example.
Oh, the old guy who married Ruth?
Well, okay, that's a perfect example, because on the surface it seems like that's all we know about him. But if we really study his words and his actions, we can start to see him as a man who was both morally clean and who accepted scriptural responsibility. We can look at that in the book of Ruth. Just some background on it, it was the responsibility in Israel for landowners to allow the poor people to glean from the leftover grain in the borders of the fields. And some landowners probably viewed gleaners as just a nuisance. But Boaz took a very different view. And at Ruth chapter 2, verse 7, we see some evidence of this. Do you mind reading that?
Sure. She asked, Ruth 2:7. She asked, "Please, may I glean and gather among the cut-off ears of grain left behind by the harvesters?" And she has been on her feet since she came this morning until just now, when she sat in the shelter for a short rest.
Thank you. So it might be easy to miss, but look really carefully at the end of that verse. What provision did Boaz make available to the gleaners in his field?
A shelter?
Right. And nowhere in the law did it say that this was a requirement, but Boaz went the extra mile in fulfilling his scriptural responsibility towards the poor. And then we can see evidence of Boaz's moral cleanness and how he treated Ruth when she came into him at night at the threshing floor over in chapter 3. So he didn't take advantage of her trust in him. In verse 14, we actually see that he made sure that no rumors would be started by having her leave before it was light out. And then he says, "Do not let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor." Now, doesn't that show concern for Ruth's reputation and for her moral cleanness?
Yeah.
It definitely does. And he also demonstrated moral cleanness in that he didn't lead Ruth on. He made it clear in chapter 3, verse 12, that he was not yet free to marry her. He says, "While it is true that I am a repurchaser, there is a repurchaser more closely related than I am." And then in chapter 4, he goes to this relative and he settles the matter before he lets his relationship with Ruth progress any further. So this is a good example. Isn't this a good example for anyone who's thinking of pursuing a courtship today?
Yeah. No one likes to have their feelings toyed with.
Yeah. So, Wendy, let me ask you something. What if you were suddenly asked to take on a second mortgage, marry someone from a different country, and then have their mother-in-law move in with you?
Could you add a couple dogs to that list? No. That would be a huge imposition.
Right, but that, in modern terms, that's basically what this repurchase entailed. That's why in Ruth chapter 4, verse 6, the other repurchaser chooses to abdicate his scriptural responsibility. He says that it would ruin his own inheritance or, affect his personal financial situation in an adverse way. But in contrast, nowhere in the book of Ruth do we see Boaz express any reservations or concerns about the financial impact of accepting scriptural responsibility. He cared more for doing the right thing for Ruth and Naomi, and he cared about doing the right thing in Jehovah's eyes. And he knew he could probably reflect on how Jehovah had blessed him for his generous application of the laws on gleaning, so he had confidence that if he took on this additional scriptural responsibility, Jehovah would continue to bless him.
Well, that's something I never considered. That's pretty interesting. Which Bible character will you be learning about next Tuesday?
Well, I can show you how to look up the schedule